Washington, D.C. will soon join Maine and Vermont in allowing convicted felons to vote from behind bars. So this is the Radical Democracy Podcast, Radical Democracy Channel. I would like to report on things where we have any sort of extension of democracy. And so this was a cool one. I think this is just the sort of stuff that should be happening everywhere. But so let me read from this. The story posted July 14th. This November, and so this kind of snuck under the radar. People haven't even talked about this, so I just wanted to highlight it because I just noticed it kind of snuck under the radar. So this November, DC residents serving time in prison for a felony will be allowed to vote. It's a new provision passed under an emergency reform bill on July 7th. Right now, only Maine and Vermont allow incarcerated felons to vote. So quick note, Maine and Vermont are the only two states that allow incarcerated felons to vote. Just note, those are the two whitest states. So no coincidence there. I think that, disenfranchising felons is a political tool, and it's being deployed in a very racist way. And so it doesn't surprise me at all that it's not possible for felons to vote in all the rest of the places where, you have massive black population of prisoners. So let me just read further in the story. The right to vote in DC was taken away in the 1950s for those convicted of felonies while serving time. DC is unique because it doesn't have any prisons in the city. There are 6,000 convicted felons from the district serving their sentences in prisons all across the country, according to gentlemen. In November, those residents will be able to request an absentee ballot to vote. However, the DC Board of Elections won't be required to send ballots to inmates until 2021. The bill is expected to be signed into law by Mayor Muriel Bowser by the end of the week. The bill is part of temporary emergency legislation, so it will only be in place for 90 days. The DC Council plans to make the legislation permanent in the fall. So I just wanted to highlight this, just kind of throw it out there, let folks know that this is happening, because it is this is what should be going on across the country. We should be pushing for legislation like this in every state that we, wherever you are, we should be pushing for legislation like this to restore democracy. If you believe in democracy, if you believe democracy is a fundamental right in a society, that it's the most, some people would say it's the most important right in a society, particularly a democratic society, then that should be an inalienable right and something that you can't take away from anyone for any reason. And I think that it's just a good thing to keep prisoners voting, because I think that it's a part of rehabilitation. I feel like you keep people, let them feel like it's if you believe that democracy is a human right and you remove a human right, then you are dehumanizing someone. So I believe that once you've declared something to be a human right, that should be, that we cannot take that human right away for any reason. So like things that I consider human right, like healthcare, housing, food, democracy. And so I think that a living wage, I think that right to a job and a job with a living wage. So I think that even prisoners should be able to get jobs and jobs with living wages. So this like prison slavery garbage, the 13th Amendment, that abolished slavery but legal except in the case of prison slavery, prison labor. So I think that, if you haven't watched the documentary 13th on Netflix, please check it out. It's amazing, and it's just great, and it'll take you through that history. So definitely worth a watch. But yeah, this is good news, promising for democracy. We got, felons should still be able to vote and still be able to participate in democracy, just so that they remain engaged in their community, still feel like they're a member of the community. And I think that it'll just be easier for them to transition back into normal life, quote unquote, and hopefully will go towards, in some small way, towards helping to reduce recidivism, like the rate of people returning back to prison after being let out. So just make people feel like they're part of the community still. Don't dehumanize people, because when you dehumanize, you just push them further into things like violence and isolation. And so very, destructive forces. So I thought that was promising, something that I definitely wanted to mention, since it did go under the radar. And I just like to see it happening. It is kind of, two things to point out. I mean, one, DC doesn't have any actual prisons there, and so they, it's not a massive impact, but there are 6,000 prisoners from DC, and apparently where you're registered to vote is like where you are like a resident of, I guess, apparently. And so even if you get moved around, you still like vote where you're like a resident of, not where you've been moved to, apparently, I think, or something. That's what it sounds like, because these DC residents are going to be able to receive ballots even if they're felons. But another side note, two more side notes. One, the ballots don't appear like they're going to be able to vote in the 2020 election, unfortunately, because they said that the absentee ballots don't actually have to be delivered until 2021. So I'm hoping they don't mean the ballots for this election year have to be delivered, but I'm hoping they mean that no ballots will be able to be delivered until the year 2021, meaning after that, moving forward in an election year, they will be able to request and receive ballots and vote in those elections after 2021. Other side note was that this was just a temporary measure as part of an emergency police reform bill. And so it's only effective for 90 days. And then they hope to come back, the council, and make this permanent. But there's no guarantee that it will be made permanent. I'll keep an eye on it, give you an update when I can, if I see any news about it. Thanks for watching Radical Democracy Podcast. I'm your host, Kamali Rose. Please like and share this video, subscribe to the channel, and if it doesn't bother you, hit that bell below to receive notifications whenever we go live or launch a new video. Please leave your thoughts in the comments below, and if you can afford it, do me a huge favor and head over to my Patreon at patreon.com/radicaldemocracy and throw me a few bucks. Whatever you can afford, it goes a long way, and I will greatly appreciate it. It helps the channel to continue to exist and to grow, and I really appreciate the support. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you soon. All right, peace. All right, that was a good one. That one's it. Thanks for watching Radical Democracy Podcast. I'm your host, Kamali Rose. Please like and share this video, subscribe to the channel, and if it doesn't bother you, hit that bell below to receive notifications whenever we go live or launch a new video. Please leave your thoughts in the comments below, and if you can afford it, do me a huge favor and head over to my Patreon at patreon.com/radicaldemocracy and throw me a few bucks. Whatever you can afford, it goes a long way, and I will greatly appreciate it. It helps the channel to continue to exist and to grow, and I really appreciate the support. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you soon. All right, peace. All right, that was a good one. That one's it.